Hi, I'm Ashley, and this is my Leadership Action Plan final presentation. So the issue that I decided to talk about is when to tell parents bad news about diagnosis and prognosis of their baby, especially in the NICU, because that's where I work. I've seen many times where parents don't know that their baby is most likely going to die, and they're not going to go home, and they have asked questions to me or to other nurses I have seen that we can't really answer because we don't diagnose, and the doctors have not told them yet about the devastating diagnosis. This matters in the NICU because informed consent and patient rights are obviously a very large part of what we care about as nurses in the healthcare system. Our patients obviously can't communicate that with us, but their parents also have their parental rights and they have a right to know. This impacts nurses, as I said, when we don't know what parents have been told or if they don't know about the diagnosis yet, they come asking us questions and we cannot answer them. This can also be awkward for neonatal nurse practitioners who don't really know how to explain things, and it just becomes a collaboration issue, I feel like, and I've seen it happen, and that's why I decided to talk about it. So the timeline with my unit in terms of dates, I couldn't really give an exact date because my idea was to add this information into our weekly email that we add for education every week, and then also we have a monthly cart thing that goes around with education as well, so that would be something that would be just for nurses, and the email is kind of for the whole team, so figuring out how to best present the information in a way that everybody can understand it and how it makes sense with input. So not like an exact date, but it could be within putting it into the email in the next couple weeks and then adding it to the monthly nurses skills and information checkoff thing in a few months, because there's already months planned, so adding it would just have to wait a few months. So the individuals and roles involved is everybody on the team. Bedside nurses, NNPs, and neonatologists need to be informed and on the same page about what the unit is doing. So the resources needed, like I said, emails and nurses who are in charge of putting together those emails are assistant managers, and then also the medical director, making sure that any new things are added, that she's aware of it and agrees with that and the evidence as well. There wouldn't be any extra funding because it would just be adding it to something that already exists. The metrics for success, I think when we roll something new out, a lot of times we'll do like a QR code survey at the end of it as nurses, so sending it to the whole team to ask, a month after, how do you feel like these conversations are going, how do you feel like if it's improving at all. But I think the biggest thing would be adding it to the parent survey that we give to parents. They're able to complete a survey about things they liked, didn't like, things that went right, things that went wrong, things that they think the NICU can improve on. So I think adding this to just directly ask the parents, when did this conversation take place, if it took place, how did they feel, would they have rather known earlier, etc. So I think that would be the most important metric for success, is asking parents themselves. And the organization goal alignment, like I said, this impacts patient rights and parental rights. Informed consent is important for the organization, and goals to keep things legal and ethical, so that's why it is important. So the connection to improved outcomes, this doesn't really improve the outcome of the patient because, like I said, it's an issue with informing parents about their baby is most likely going to die or they have a devastating diagnosis, and it's not necessarily going to change that outcome for the baby to live or to suddenly regain full function of their body and mind again. Like, that's not the point of it. The point is that the parents need to know so that they can make informed decisions. This can enhance nursing practice because we are at the bedside, they're asking us questions, we need to be able to have open, honest conversations and know when to call in someone above us, like an NNP, to come and talk to them and answer questions. The evidence that I found was from this prognostic communication between oncologists and parents of children with advanced cancer, and it showed that when the oncologist informed the parents early on and as soon as possible that parental understanding of the prognosis and the diagnosis were key to their overall understanding, that they were able to understand it better. So I collaborated with 2 charge nurses and 2 neonatal nurse practitioners. Both of them, on both sides, they both had different personalities, and they actually both had different perspectives, which was a really good conversation to have. I engaged with them because it was very easy, because this actually happened with a patient recently of mine where this issue came up, that the parents didn't know that the diagnosis that their baby had was devastating and that she will not be going home with them, most likely. And it also involved it was a cardiology consult, and it was the cardiologist who needed to tell the parents about the cardiology aspects of things, because that's why the baby was going to die, is because her heart she has a lot of congenital issues. So the conversation got pushed back because the cardiologists kept pushing it back, and they were hard to get a hold of to say, like, hey, you need to come and tell the family about this, because even the neonatal or the neonatologists, even they're not experts in cardiology. That's why we have the cardiologists come in and do things. So just talking with them at the bedside about this patient, and then bringing up other patients, or when they felt like things had gone better or worse, and kind of just what their perspectives were. So it really was just discussing and learning their opinions and what they thought was ethical and why. So the benefits of team input, everybody has a different perspective, and I think that's valuable in a team. my thinking evolved because I kind of had my thoughts in one way, but then talking to somebody else and talking through the pros and cons of telling them right away versus waiting a little bit when appropriate, just talking about pros and cons of everything helped. Just to reflect on the experience, it was really good. I like having those kind of conversations, pros and cons of each, telling them or not telling them, at that time is a good conversation to have. So the contributors, Abby and Kristen, they both are very good charge nurses. Like I said, they had different personalities. Same with Kitty and Tina, the NNPs that I talked to. Like Kristen and Kitty were kind of on the same page where they think they should be told immediately right away as soon as they know because they have the right to know. And Abby and Tina were more on the side of why give them that heartbreak when we know the baby's not going to die in the next couple of days. Just like it doesn't matter to wait because it's not going to change the outcome. That was kind of their perspectives. So their input, they both agreed obviously that conversation does need to happen. And in this instance of the patient I was just talking about, everybody agreed that the conversation should have been had earlier. And then there was kind of a problem with cardiology and our neonatologist team just kind of pushing it to the side and not having the conversation right away. What did I learn about myself as a leader? I can have the confidence to start a conversation. I have less than a year of experience as a nurse, so I feel like sometimes, especially during rounds, it's hard to kind of, talk to them about things. And then they also have multiple patients they have to go around and see, so it's hard because you feel like you don't want to waste their time or annoy them because you want to talk about something else, but that it's still important to have those conversations. Leadership strategies I value is definitely being open-minded. I found that was really a big part of this project. Moments that were most important to me was really having that conversation about a specific patient. That was really helpful. Like, why did we wait to tell this family about it? Well, it was because the cardiologist didn't want to tell them right away, blah, blah, blah. And being able to actually have a real life scenario happening right in front of us. I'll carry this experience into my career just by being, even though I'm still a new grad, having the confidence to speak up in rounds and ask questions and just talk about why or why not we're doing something. So the 4 skills that I decided to highlight was leadership, collaboration, communication, and teamwork. I feel like those just kind of were things that I was kind of struggling with before. I still struggle with them, but it's helped me improve that, especially talking to the NNPs and neonatologists. How did I work with others? Effectively, to work with others, I think having an open mind and having the conversation at the right place and at the right time is very important. The other team members' ideas contributed to my plan because, like I said, 2 of them kind of were on one side and 2 of them were on the other side. So just kind of talking about the pros and cons of everything and being able to kind of, everyone still agrees that in this specific case they should have been told earlier, but then just understanding, maybe why they weren't. And how will the plan lead to better outcomes for patients, staff, and the healthcare system? Obviously, it's not going to change the patient outcome to inform the parents about their baby's probably going to die sooner. It's not going to change that outcome. But just helping the parents have more confidence in us as a healthcare team that their baby is safe with us and that we're going to do everything we can that they want us to do, that they can trust us. So communicating with parents about survivability is an important conversation to have early on because they deserve informed consent and they are parents. They have parental rights. They have a right to know about every aspect of the diagnosis of their child. And my recommendation for putting it into practice, like I said, is putting it through the emails and information, our weekly information dissemination, and then also in the nurse week or monthly bedside trainings. And the nurses and teams should have this conversation. When should the family be informed? Why is the family not being informed? And just kind of have an open dialogue. Everyone has an opinion about this, so I think it's important to do this on a case-by-case basis because not every case is the same. But yeah, that is my presentation.